It is definitely time for guys to learn some game. What's up, guys? This is JAUNZEMIS. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a major value bomb. We're going to be teaching you the concept of microcalibration in regards to game and dating and picking up women. So let's get into it. All right. So we're trying this new Logitech Brio 4K webcam, and hopefully I got the settings right. It should be looking pretty smooth. I should be in UHD for you. Anyway, I'm sitting over here having a protein shake. We got spinach, blueberries, strawberries with protein powder, creatine, and some honey in here. It's pretty good. So protein shakes and working out, that helps another type of game, your health and fitness game. That helps with things like looks maxing, improving your aesthetics, going to the gym. That's a different portion of the game. What I'm going to be getting into here today, this is more of the mental portion of the game. So I just want to enter this little text box here so you know what we're talking about. Microcalibration. Okay, that's what we're going to be basically learning today. Let's keep this in an Arial black font, and 24, I think we'll do good. Okay, so that's really the concept that we're going to be learning here today. And the next thing I want you to keep in mind here is that I want you to look at the definition of game. Okay, this is the real definition in terms of the type of game that we're going to be talking about today, which is like the mental functions, techniques, tactics, and strategies that you're using in your head. And for short, I just like to call it a cognitive tool. It's kind of like a toolbox that you can go into. And as you're running game on a girl, so game, for example, is conscious, behavioral. Oops, I spelled which I. Behavioral modifications. Okay, let's just capitalize that real quick. Conscious behavioral modifications. I really want you to think about that for a second. That means what you're doing is you're consciously modifying your behavior in order to get a certain type of result. So for example, if I consciously decide to alter my behavior, if I do this, if I do blank, hopefully I will get blank response. Hopefully, if I do this, if I do such and such action, hopefully the girl will like me and give me sex. So when you're learning game, at the bottom line of everything that you're doing, it's all about conscious behavioral modifications. It's all about, I want to get sex from this girl, so I'm going to do such and such, and hopefully I will get the sex. For a lot of guys, for example, they use game the wrong way though. Okay, so they'll think in their head, if I wear a suit and a tie and I invite this girl out to Olive Garden and I spend $300, hopefully it will impress her and I'll act like a perfect gentleman. I'll open her door, I will pay the bill, I will simp to her,
yes,
I will suck up to her, I will give her my attention, my affection, my approval, my validation, and love, etc. And if I do all these things, hopefully she'll like me and give me sex. Unfortunately, trying to use game in that regard usually backfires because that's really not what women are looking for. Although all that stuff sounds nice, and women will even say that they want it. They'll say, I want a nice guy to buy me dinner and open my door. But what women say they want and what they respond to are usually two completely different things. That's why a woman may say, I want a nice guy, but then she actually has sex with a guy who's a jerk or an asshole. Okay, so what they say they want and what they respond to are usually two different things. And in terms of micro-calibration, there's another concept called calibration, which is a little different. This is more calibration on an even finer level. We're going to go through the flow chart here in a second, and you'll really understand what's going on, at least in my head, when I'm running game on a girl. This flow chart right here will really help you to break down the process so that you know exactly what you're doing step by step throughout the interaction and helping you to move the interaction forward to get to the next phase. And slowly but surely, you're moving basically from the open all the way to the close, from eye contact all the way to the bedroom, from meet until sex. Now, it's funny because a lot of times guys will get coaching with me, but they will always, how do you say this? They tend to want to work on what they want to work on instead of asking me, the coach, the guru, right, who knows what you need to work on. They'll usually say, well, I think this is what's weak in my game. I need to work on how approaching. I need to work on confidence, or I need to work on this, instead of asking me, what should I work on? What's really going to help me to get better results with women? And if that was the case, then I would go ahead and pull out something like this and walk them through it. But lucky for you guys, I'm actually just going to do this for free on my YouTube so that you can watch this video. And then, of course, if you guys want to expand on this and learn further, then you can get a coaching call with me and we can get on Zoom and basically share screens just like this, and I can walk you through the entire process. Also, this graph and all the other hundreds of graphs on this PowerPoint and dozens of others that I have are all in my book, How to Pick Up Hot Women. You can get access to all of these charts and graphs in full HD. Go ahead and pick that up on Amazon.com. It's just $6 for the Kindle, and you'll be able to own that on your computer, and you can zoom in and look at all of these graphics. Or you can get the paperback version. Is there a search function in here? No. Search. And if we're coming straight from my book, this is actually coming out of page 430. Again, you have the entire diagram right here in HD. So there we go. Microcalibration is the process of minutely or finely tuning exactly where you're at during any given social situation and or interaction, and then consciously acknowledging the woman's behavior and then slightly calibrating or micro-calibrating your behavior and responses, meaning you're finely tuning or finely calibrating it in order to achieve a specific desired result. This would be opposed to most guys who just enter into a set or situation with a woman and they just start talking. They just throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks. They walk up to her and approach her with no plan of attack, and they just end up walking up and saying, hey, I really like your dress. Hey, you look really pretty tonight. I really like the music in here. I like your shoes. And they have no game for the most part. They don't know what they're doing, and they're just hoping that the girl likes them, and they're hoping to get a phone number and eventually a date and eventually sex. Whereas if you're a guy who's a player, a pickup artist, a seducer, a ladies' man, a lady killer, if you're the type of guy who knows how to run game, as you're talking to the woman, you're always keeping basically in the forefront of your mind, what am I doing? What am I saying that's going to help me to progress the interaction to the next phase? I'm consciously looking at the woman to see how she's responding, if she's liking what I'm saying, to let me know, should I continue doing that? Or should I back off a little bit and maybe try a different approach? So let's dig into the model so that you can get a clear understanding of exactly what I'm talking about here. Once you understand the model, it's very easy to go back and you'll know exactly what's going on and you'll be able to navigate through this. But if it's your first time hearing about this type of concept, then I'm actually going to start roughly about here. And then we'll go through it and then come back around. So for example, let's start with the term IOI. If you're not familiar with that term, that is basically PUA slang, or it's an abbreviation or an acronym for indicator of interest. An indicator of interest could be the woman laughing at your joke. Maybe she taps you on the shoulder. Maybe she, fixes your tie. She winks at you. If she has like a martini glass, she may fondle the glass or something like that. She may be a little more flirtatious. She's basically giving you an indicator of interest to continue, that she wants to continue talking to you, conversing with you. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a sexual IOI. It doesn't mean that she wants to fuck you, but she's interested in communicating with you further. The opposite, or opposed to that, is going to be an IOD. That's an indicator of disinterest. Right? That means she's not interested in talking to you. She's kind of blowing you off. You make a joke and she just kind of stares and then she looks the other way. You ask her for her number and she says, I'm not that type of girl. She says, I have a boyfriend. She gives you some type of objection. Those are all indicators of disinterest. The next thing that you need to know before we get into this flow chart is the acronym DHV, which is demonstrate higher value, or a demonstration of higher value. It's something, for example, you DHV to the target. That might be something like telling her that you are the lead singer in a band, that you're a rock star. That's a demonstration of higher value versus, let's say, a demonstration of lower value, which is a DLV. Kind of telling her, she says, what do you do for work? And you say, I'm unemployed. Or you tell her, I stock shelves at Home Depot, or I collect grocery carts at Target. Those are all DLVs. Demonstration of higher value I'm a rich, successful millionaire. Demonstration of lower value. I'm a homeless person with AIDS and dying on the streets, right? Women want men of high value. They don't want men of lower value. If you're a man of higher value, a woman will give you more IOIs because she's going to be interested in talking to you, communicating with you further, and possibly aligning with you, possibly sexually. And the less value that you have, the more DLVs, she's going to give you more indicators of disinterest to get away from you. Okay, if you're doing nothing but DLVing yourself, if you're demonstrating lower value, the woman's going to be repulsed by you. You're going to get repulsion. If you're demonstrating high value, the woman will want to get to know you further, and she may eventually want to fuck you and suck your dick. And then lastly, compliance testing. Okay, so a compliance test can be anything. If I said, hold this blender for me, and you do it, you have complied to my compliance test. If I say, can you hold this? And you say, no, Ryan, fuck you. I don't want to hold your blender. You have now defied my compliance test. So when a compliance test is given, you can either comply or you can defy. Complying is basically an IOI. It's an indicator of interest. And defying a compliance test would be an IOD, an indicator of disinterest. Now, let's say that you're talking to the girl and the girl gives you IOIs. What happens? She's basically letting you know that she wants to further communicate with you. So you will stack forward with a Keno/compliance test. So if in that case, when she gives you an IOI, for example, you tell her, I'm the lead singer in a band, and she says, oh, that's cool, tell me more. You've now DHV'd. She's given you an IOI, and you will then follow up with a Keno and/or compliance test, which she can either comply or defy. So for example, she says, what do you do for work? That's an indicator of interest. I DHV to her by saying, I'm the lead singer in a famous rock band. I've now DHV'd, I've demonstrated a higher value, and she's going to give me an IOI to let me know that she's further interested in communicating with me. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Oh, that's hot. Tell me more. And then I basically give her a compliance test by saying, why don't you get us some drinks? Now, she can either comply or she can defy. She can either buy us the drinks, and we're going to sit down and have a little mini date, or she can say, I don't buy guys drinks, or no, I don't do that, or no, I'm not interested. That would be a defiance, and that would be an IOD, basically showing that I still haven't demonstrated enough value to get her to buy me a drink. And if I haven't demonstrated enough value to get her to buy me a drink, she's probably not going to suck my dick and swallow the cum. She's probably not going to lay on her back and get naked and let me fuck her. So I will have to DHV again. I will have to demonstrate higher value, get more IOIs, and get her to start passing my compliance test. The more IOIs that she gives me, the more compliance tests that she complies to, the faster that I'm going to get the sex. If you really think about a compliance test, walking up to a woman and then saying, hey, I want you to lay on your back, get naked, spread your legs, and let me stick my dick inside of you. That's a compliance test. But if I haven't demonstrated any value, if I'm not her boyfriend or her husband, she's probably going to defy that test. It's asking for too much up front. So what we want to do with game is we want to start small and we want to move up and we want to go bigger and bigger. This is a compliance momentum or building compliance threshold. And this is really what game is at its core. So for example, if you think of a circus hoop, I'm holding up a hoop and seeing if you'll jump through it. Hey, right? Buy me a drink. That's like holding up kind of a small hoop because the drink might only be like $2. Are you going to be able to jump through that hoop? Or are you going to be like, no, I'm not going to jump through that hoop? Let's say I hold up that hoop and I say, buy me a drink. The girl says no. Then I basically know that I need to microcalibrate and basically demonstrate more value before I put up another compliance hoop to get her to jump through it. And as you progress further throughout the interaction, you can put bigger and bigger and bigger hoops, all the way up to like lay on your back, get naked, and spread your legs, and let me fuck you. You could even go further than that. Hey, I want to fuck you and 2 of your friends. I want to bring home your friends from work and let's have some group sex. Hey, let me fuck you in the ass. All of these are bigger and bigger and bigger compliance hoops. Or you tell her, for example, give me a hug. She gives you a hug. And then you tell her, give me a kiss. And she says no. So it's like you're getting so much compliance for her to comply and give you a hug. But now you've reached that ceiling where she's like, I'll give him a hug, but I won't give him a kiss. I'll give him a kiss, but I won't let him take off my shirt and suck my tits. I'll let him suck on my tits, but I'm not going to give him head. I'm okay with, making out with him, doing foreplay. He can go down on me. I'll give him head, but sex, no. So that lets you know where your ceiling is at. And every time you reach the ceiling, you basically want to understand, hey, that's my compliance threshold. And in order to break through that glass ceiling, you somehow have to demonstrate a higher value to her to turn her on and get to the next phase in the game. All right, so now that you have kind of a somewhat understanding of what's going on here, Now let's start back at the beginning and let's actually run through this chart. Now, the way that I've written this is basically like credit to Mystery and Venusian Arts, by the way, for creating the original way that this chart was done. This is my own spin on it, and I think this is a better way to teach it so that a new person understands it. And all of these little hypothetical situations or examples that I've thrown in, I think will basically give you a better idea and understanding of what's going on. And then in the specific situation or interaction that you're in with your specific target, you can basically keep this in the back part of your mind because you're always microcalibrating all throughout the entire game and the interaction from any time that you meet the girl all the way to sex and beyond that. And when you have a better understanding of how this goes, then you can basically shoot from the hip and you can fill in the blank. You'll see. You'll understand. Let's go through this. So basically, before we start here, you kind of have to understand the, like where we just came from. We're starting here, but you got to understand what just happened. Why would we throw in IOD? Or what you might call a negative compliment or something like that. A neg is basically a brief statement or action one does to briefly or temporarily disqualify themselves from being considered a potential suitor. So for example, a girl bumps into you at the club and you look at her and you go like that, that's a neg. Because a guy who wanted to be with her would never do that. He'd be like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Hi, you're really pretty. He'd suck up to her. A neg might be, the girl has acrylic nails on and you look at her and you go, oh, those are really nice nails. Are they real? And then she goes, no. And you go, oh, yeah, well, they're still nice. All right, instead of saying, oh, they're really pretty, that would be more like a compliment. A neg is kind of a negative compliment or a veiled insult. Or an IOD is an example of a neg. So let's say, for example, I had told the girl, she said, what do you do for work? And I told her, I was a lead singer in a band. So let's say that demonstration of higher value, that DHV, didn't hit right, for example. And she just wasn't impressed. I give her a DHV, but she gives me an IOD back. Well, the only way that I can really respond to that to preserve my value is to give her an IOD back in exchange for her IOD. So I say, I DHV'd, I'm the lead singer in a band. She said, oh, I'm not impressed. She gave me an IOD, so I give her an IOD back and basically say something like, you probably couldn't handle me anyway, right? You probably couldn't handle me anyways. So that kind of lets her know that, like, even though she dissed me, I DHV'd to her. I showed that I'm a man of high value. I'm the lead singer in a band. She said, I'm not impressed. And I said, well, you couldn't handle me anyway. She gave me an IOD, I give her an IOD back. Or here's a classic one. I eat nice girls like you for breakfast. And then, of course, after that, to keep the interaction going, you want to stack forward, moving on to the next thing. And you basically want to, since she still hasn't seen you as high value, you need to DHV again. So you'll go into a story. For example, you say, you probably couldn't handle me anyway. But anyway, get this. By the way, I was at the bar the other day, and a girlfriend of mine. And you basically go into some type of story that's going to demonstrate higher value. Demonstrating higher value, like I said, could be being a leader of men, or being like a lead singer in a band, or having a lot of money, wealth, status, being pre-selected by other women. So basically, when you start a story saying something like, I was hanging out with a girlfriend of mine, that basically lets the girl know, oh, he has female friends. He's pre-selected by other women. And women don't just hang around any guy. They hang around high-value guys. So that says about you that you're high value. So anyway, you IOD back. Yeah, you probably couldn't handle me anyways. And then you stack forward with a DHV. So that will go this way. So now you stack forward with the DHV. You demonstrate higher value to the target. I'm the lead singer in a band. But maybe that didn't work the first time, so you try something else. Me and my friends went skydiving last week. Okay? That demonstrates value because that says that you lead a fun and interesting lifestyle that she might want to be a part of. You and your friends go out skydiving. What do most guys do on the weekends? Sit home, drink a beer, jerk off to the hub, and then pass out and go to work the next day. They're not very exciting, and that's not a lifestyle that a woman, an attractive woman, that would want to be a part of. But you and your friend, you guys are going skydiving. Okay, that's high value. You and your friends are going on canoe trips and whitewater rafting. You guys are going out hiking and rock climbing and doing interesting stuff. Anything like that is a DHV. Or again, demonstrate pre-selection and social proof. Yeah, so me and my friends were out rock climbing, and a girlfriend of mine, her name's Sarah. She's funny. She used to be a go-go dancer, right? So that just implied that I have a friend named Sarah who's a go-go dancer, which says that not only is she an average girl, but she's probably very attractive since she's a go-go dancer. So I go into a story like that, and then the girl's listening. She says, oh, wow, this guy leads a fun and interesting lifestyle. He's out rock climbing with his friends and has a hot friend named Sarah who's a go-go dancer. Okay, so I DHV to her. So what happens? After I DHV, she's either going to give me an IOI or an IOD. She's either going to be interested or she's disinterested. Let's say, for example, she was not interested. She gave me an IOD back. Second time. She gives you some kind of, I have a boyfriend, or she ignores you, or she gives you negative body language and she's just not interested. So what do we do when the girl IODs? Right? What did I just say? She gives you an IOD, you give her an IOD back. Right? And here's my little rule. If she IODs you, then you IOD her back, then stack forward with a DHV. What's a good example? You probably couldn't handle me anyways. Right? Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing? Oh, how you doing? Let me get your phone number. I have a boyfriend. You probably couldn't handle me anyways. Anyways, get this. I was with a couple of friends and a girlfriend of mine. Her name's Sarah. She's a go-go dancer. We were on a whitewater rafting adventure, at the Grand Canyon. But right, so you go off into some DHV story. Hopefully this time your DHV hits, and then she gives you an IOI, an indicator of interest. So she might say something like, "Oh, that's hot," right? Or she qualifies herself to you or gives you keynote. So, for example, qualifying herself to you might be like she agrees with your story and then she tells you her own story, kind of like, we call this like being the Me Too person or the Me Too. Like, you'll notice a lot of guys will always do this. For example, you start a conversation with a guy and you say, "Hey, yeah, me and my friends were whitewater rafting," and the Me Too guy will come in, "Oh yeah, I whitewater raft with my friends all the time." And you call him the Me Too guy because he's like, he agrees with you and then he tries to go into his own story instead of fucking listening like a normal person would. But sometimes girls will do this, which is basically an IOI. So you say, "Yeah, me and my friends went whitewater rafting," and the girl will go, "Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, me and my friends do that before." Okay, anyway, if she does that, she's qualifying herself to you, and that's basically giving you an IOI back after your DHV. Or she gives you keno. Keno is short for kinesthetic, which means touch. So for example, you give her a DHV, and then she says, maybe she goes, "Oh, that's really hot," or "That's cool," and then she taps you on the shoulder, or all of a sudden she kind of smiles and she's like, "Oh, your tie's crooked," and she fixes your tie. Right, that's keno. Or she gives you a fist bump, or she goes, "Oh, high five." She really likes what you're talking about. If she touches you, that's keno. And keno is an IOI, indicator of interest. So here's the rule. If she gives you IOIs, you stack forward with a keno compliance test. She will either comply or defy. Right? So after she says something like, "That's hot," you give her a compliance test. You can kind of test her level of compliance. You can test where you're at on that threshold by saying, "Buy us a drink." Or you might tell her, "Come dance with me." That's a keno compliance test, because having her buy you a drink is a compliance test, but saying, "Come dance with me," now she's going to be touching you. That becomes a keno compliance test. And if she's going to dance with you, she's going to be touching on you. She might be grinding her ass. You'll kind of get to gauge where are you at on that keno compliance threshold. If she's dancing with you, she'll probably hug you. Maybe she'll kiss you. Maybe she'll take it to the next level on the keno ladder. So the keno ladder is basically another type of pickup artist PUA theory. Basically, it's reminiscent of the rungs on a ladder, right? So you might start at the bottom, you haven't touched it all, there's no keno, and then the first rung on that ladder would be like a fist bump or a high five, right? The next rung on that might be a hug. The next rung on that might be getting your first kiss on the cheek. Then maybe a kiss on the lips, then a French kiss. Then it might be scamming, right? Which basically sex with clothes on. Then it might be taking off the girl's top and sucking on her tits. Then it might be going down on the girl, licking her pussy. Then it might be getting a blowjob, and then it's sex. And on this keno ladder, sex is actually at about 50 or 60%, because there are keno steps on the ladder that are much beyond sex, like anal sex. That generally comes after sex. That's a more advanced level of keno. Getting a girl to have a threesome or a foursome with you is a level above anal. So there are more levels of keno compliance. So sex isn't the ultimate goal. If you get into a relationship with a girl, there are keno steps above that, and I explain all that in the book. Another compliance test might be, "Let me get your number." What do you do? "I'm a lead singer in a band." "Oh, that's hot. Yeah, let me get your number." Okay, right? She can comply or she can defy. Or, "Give me a kiss." You may be just going for a kiss instead of saying it. Sometimes that's more spontaneous. But let's say you tell her, "Let me get your number," and she says something like, "I have a boyfriend," right? That would be an IOD. Okay? She defies. She says, "No, I'm not going to buy you a drink. I'm not going to give you my phone number. I'm not going to kiss you." Okay? What's the rule? If she IODs you, then you IOD back, and then you stack forward with a DHV, right? So you say, give me your number. She said no. She's IOD'd you. You come back through this flow chart. You come back to the beginning right here, and she gave you an IOD. You return the IOD back. You probably couldn't handle it anyway. Anyways, get this. So you go in basically with another DHV. Demonstrate that high value. Let's say, for example, you tell her a DHV story. She's interested. She gives you an IOI. You then give her a compliance test. This time you tell her, let me get your number, and she complies. She says, okay, take my number, all right? She complies. IOI, indicator of interest, the target complies to your compliance request. She complies and says yes, or she gives you Keno. And she taps you, says, yeah, sure, take my number. Okay, anything like that. She gives you an IOI, like in dog training, for example, if you tell the dog, hey, roll over or jump through this hoop, and the dog does it, you want to give the doggy a little treat and say, good doggy, and pat it on the head. So she complies to your compliance test. She gives you an IOI. You want to return that IOI with an IOI of your own, right? So you say, give me your number. She says, take my number. You say, oh, I like that, right? You reward the target for good behavior. Again, it's like giving a doggy a little treat. This is like basic dog training. And that will prompt the dog to keep listening to you and keep obeying you and keep doing what you tell it to, because it knows if it is a good doggy, it will get more food. So you tell the girl, give me your number, and she says, yeah, take my number. You write the number down, and then you tell her, I like that. Or you say, I'm enjoying your company. You're fun. That's a nice compliment. Or, I like blank about you. I really like your style. You know what I like about you? You're fun and you're spontaneous, right? Because you said, give me your number. That's a compliance test. She complied to your request, which is an IOI, and you give her an IOI back in thanks or appreciation. Now what's happening right here, this is a very interesting phenomenon, because once you're here, right, this is like a positive compliance loop. The rule here, she gives you IOIs, you stack forward with a Keno compliance test, she can either comply or defy, which is the same as here, because once you get into this positive loop right here, all of a sudden, you give her a compliance test. Buy us a drink. She says yes. You thank her for the drink. I like that about you. You really take care of your man, or something like that. And she says, of course I do. And you go, hey, well, give me your number. And she says, sure, take my number. You know what? I like that about you. You're very, you're spontaneous. You're cool. You give her another compliance test. Hey, we should go hang out right now. I know this really cool bar. She says yes. You say, hey, that's good. I like that. Let's roll. You're a fun girl to be with. Now all of a sudden, now you're at that other bar. Hey, let's go back to my place. Okay, sure, right? So you see what's happening here? Once you have demonstrated enough value and she becomes attracted to you, you're now basically giving her a compliance test. She's complying. She's giving you an IOI. You're giving her an IOI back. You're giving her another compliance test. And this basically leads you all the way to getting sex. And this basically leads you all the way to getting her back to your place or to her place or some other form of isolation, like a public toilet, the back seat of your car, behind the dumpster, behind the bar, and ultimately you will be able to get laid and get the sex. Now, here is kind of the secret part of this. If you stay in this loop, it does seem perfect on paper, but in real life, if basically you kiss her ass after every single good thing, you start to become a pushover. You start to become like this simpy guy and you start to become predictable. Women like spontaneousness. They like things to be a little bit more random because it's more emotional to them. So that is where we introduce the intermittent IOIs and IODs. So sometimes she may do something that you like, but you just IOD her for no reason, just because it makes you all of a sudden become unpredictable, and that forces a kind of like a tension into the relationship. And women are fueled by emotion and feeling, and all of a sudden you also become a challenge because you're not sucking up to her or thanking her or kissing her ass every single time. Sometimes you're just being disagreeable or you're just being a jerk on purpose, and you're not being mean or abusive, but you're kind of being like a playful jerk, or you're kind of teasing her or something like that. And you're being that challenge where she doesn't quite have you all the way, and that's what keeps her chasing you. We can go into like cat string theory. A good example of this is like, let's say there's a cat, and this is called cat string theory. So let's say you have a piece of string, and if you drop the string right in front of the cat will just look at it and it will get bored and walk away. But if you keep that string just out of reach of the cat, that cat will run all over the place, it will jump, it will do backflips just to get that string, because the string is just out of reach. And that's how you need to be as a man in a relationship to keep that woman coming back for more. Holds her interest, keeps her excited. So basically you intermittently use indicators of interest or indicators of disinterest on the target. So for example, the target says, do you like Chinese food? And you purposely, even if you do like Chinese food, you just tell her, no, I don't like that. I like pizza. Okay, so you just disagree with her just because. Now, in a couple of weeks, maybe she remembers you don't like Chinese food even though you do, and you're telling her, hey, let's go get Chinese food. She says, I thought you didn't like that. You go, no, I mean, I do. I just wasn't in the mood that day. So you can always change it up like that. Or you can use negative body language. So for example, as she's talking to you, you just might not pay attention so well. You might kind of turn your body and you look over here, or you text on your phone real quick, or you just don't pay attention to her that much. And that's more like a passive IOD. You're passively giving her indicators of disinterest. But then you can come back and give her an intermittent IOI. Maybe she says something and then you act like you really like, oh, hey, that's really cool. Let's talk more about that. So you're giving her IODs and IOIs intermittently. Or don't text back. A lot of guys, as soon as a girl texts them, they're so quick to pick up the phone and text back. You can also IOD the girl. If you do that too much, it's like giving her IOI, and she's going to get bored with you because she's going to be like, this guy is a pushover, he's a pussy, he's too easy, he's not a challenge. Whereas if the girl texts you and you wait like 4 hours, it just don't. And then when you do text her back, say, oh, sorry, I was at work. Hey, what's up? All right, so you give her, it's kind of like a passive IOD again. But she knows that you're not like some dog on a leash, right? She doesn't have you on the leash right now. You're still a wild animal. You're not like a fucking caged little dog on a leash or like a little puppy who jumps at every time she texts you and you text her back. So here's the rule. You intermittently IOD her, indicator of disinterest her, letting her know that you're not a pushover or a supplicating beta male simp. Then you stack forward with a DHV. So, do you like Chinese food? Nah, I don't. I like pizza. Oh, hey, anyway, get this. Going to a DHV story. I just got this new job and I got a raise and I'm like super, happy about that because I worked really hard for it. Oh, okay. I just basically said that now I have a better job, higher status, better career, and I'm making more money. So that's a DHV. So we follow along back on our little path right here. I just DHV'd her. And after that, if she gives me, like, let's say an IOI, she likes that, I can give her a compliance test. She gives me IOIs. I give her an IOI back, I give her a compliance test, and then I move back into this positive loop that we were talking about. And that, my friends, is basically microcalibration in a nutshell. So when you understand how this all works, and you know that this is always going on, and you keep this chart in the forefront of your mind, it's going to let you know exactly where you're at and how you should respond in order to keep the interaction moving forward towards achieving the lay. That's why I go back to this all the time. Conscious behavioral modifications, right? I do this because I'm trying to get such and such result, and depending on how she responds, whether she IOIs or IODs, I'm going to IOD back, and then I'm going to DHV, and depending on how she responds to that, right, let's say she IOIs, then I know to give her a compliance test, because a compliance test is going to lead to an IOI, it's going to lead to this positive feedback loop, and ultimately get me fucking laid. All right, guys, I hope this video helps you out with your game and your interactions with women in the future. If you want to learn more about this stuff in greater detail, definitely check out my new book, How to Pick Up Hot Women. It's on Amazon. Like I said, it's just $6 for the Kindle, or you can get the paperback version. And if you want to get one-on-one coaching with me, we can get on Zoom just like this, and I can walk you through the entire process and teach you all of this type of stuff. All right, guys, at that, let's call it a day. That was a pretty good study session. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for the best dating advice. Leave your comments in the box below, and I will see you guys on the next one. Good luck and game on, fellas. Peace.